Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks. Today I am going to talk a bit about finding happiness in hard places, and also what hope looks like. Remembering and honoring hope and unconditional love. Not quite sure what I'll title the video yet, so we'll see what that ends up with. But thanks for clicking on it. Thanks for checking out my video. If you're new here, I'm doing a lot more of these kind of like personal videos, which I used to really not do that much of. I used to have a plan, and also, you know, more of a specific topic or a teaching to kind of feel like I'm bringing to the table for people to want to listen to me, you know. Which I'm still doing, and I still really enjoy doing, and I have a couple different series going, you know. However, some things I'm finding coming up in my journey, in my spiritual practices, in my own personal like development, I guess, are asking me to share more directly, more openly, with more transparency, honoring who I am and what things are shifting, changing, you know, happening sort of with me. And so if you're interested in hearing more like personal kind of things, that's what I'm going to talk about again today. Today, because I put out a video similar not that long ago. Anyways, but the topic for today and my own personal, I'm going to get my water. I keep thinking I should have just brought this over. Why didn't I bring this over when I started? But it's kind of like too bright outside today, and so the light from the windows is hard to offset, and I have to have this light like right in front of my face. But I felt like I have the time and the space, and it's a worthy topic to bring forth. And so Sacred Sunday morning, I thought I've been gifted this beautiful day. It really is a, you know, supposed to be for me a ritual of being, of embodying gratitude and source and my purpose and my connection to God, to source, and sort of away from screens and as much as I can, and except for my Bible study, which I would, you know, always has become implemented, not always, but it's just become part of my Sunday routine. But I try to make it a day that is, you know, God-focused and is my spiritual best focused, you know, a day of rest, a day of reprieve and recharging, kind of, you know. But this morning, yeah, I'm making a video about this kind of thing because it's a really hard, difficult world out there, and it's hard times, you know. I'm thinking of my coffee cup. I don't have it with me, but it says on it, a scripture quote. And I haven't read Esther. It's out of Esther. I think it's 4:14. But it says, perhaps you were born for a time such as this. And when I ever read that, I saw it at Hobby Lobby, honestly. I didn't buy it when I first saw it, the cup. I just thought, wow, that really reminds me of a poem I wrote one time. It's so funny you bump into these things like, and they remind me, you know, and it reminds me of the poem that started off with that, and it came to me as perhaps, like, you know, and that was the very first word to the poem, and the message of the whole thing is very much similar. To be made for these times, to come back for these times, to be a pivotal person in these times. I'll find it maybe and share it. I'll put it on the community tab if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you. If you're interested in reading it, I won't try to remember it from memory, even though it's not very long at all. It's a quick snippet. But I probably will totally mangle it up if I try to remember it off the top of my head. But I'll put it on Telegram as well. If you are interested, or you follow me over there, you can see it there too. Or if I forget one of the other places, which, you know, depending on how long it takes to upload and what other things are going on in my direct world, sometimes, like, I mean to put things in other places, or I mean to share or add a link in, but these days I find myself called away. I live in the moment, and then it's like I mean to forget, but I also am not meaning to hold on to things so much. I want to live free in the moment. I don't want to have this sort of to-do list holding, you know, stressors and energy in the background of my mind, because I feel like that in itself, you know, impedes on my present moment, my happiness, feeling free, and wanting to enjoy what I'm, you know, my life, whatever I'm doing. I think I'm listening if I'm going to be interrupted. Anyways, happiness, hope in hard times, I think is and can and does look different, and needs to be malleable, needs to be flexible, needs to meet whatever is at that present moment, because there's always a different ratio of accumulation that's taken place up until the moment, you know. And so I think, you know, the more that we hold sort of constraints, memories, rigid points from the past, you know, they intrude on the present moment, and they also sort of almost solidify and push into the future the past thing, you know, the past energy, event, the mental point in it that it becomes. And a lot of times these things that are ruminating, you know, they aren't just, you know, feel great things. They're not just happy things. It's not like a little bliss, you know. It's this thing to do. It's that to get back to. It's this occurrence that I have to learn to let go of, or you know, there's just, usually it's a snare that causes the hold up, the build up, the you know. And so you know, to be able to let those things go more honestly, and to really find the happiness in the moment, it is freeing, and it ensures a more free, responsive, and open future, versus being restricted and thinking, oh, to these constraints, and I've already planned this scenario and that scenario and that scenario, so I'm looking for those types to know the response to them, or I'm attempting to make these occurrences meet those expectations so that I could respond to them in the way I'm prepared to, or whatever. It's like all of that gets stagnation happening for the future, and totally clogs up present happiness, present moment. And also, I think on the topic of kind of hope and understanding myself, this sort of turn the page moment that I'm having, that it's tying into this energy, tying into this uplifting remembrance of freedom, you know, of what it really is to be carefree, of what it is to want that. And positive structurings, positive systems really have to have that. Freedom of language, of interaction, of interpretation, and of input and output, you know. And this is how we practice it. This is the tangible way for me that I'm learning that. And it's very hard. You know, hence the reason that I'm on here, to try to work through things and use another modality of expression to again try to work over this sort of rat's nest, this very messy, intertangled, intertwined, knotting kind of issue, problem that you know, my son is watching something hilarious, which, you know, is again sort of a reminder to bring in the uplifting happiness, to be free on it, to not be like, oh, now I'm distracted, or oh, whoops, like there's in background noise, and be like, be quiet out there. How dare you live your life and laugh in the background right now? I'm trying to have this conversation. But honestly, if you critique yourself honestly and you see transparency, there's a fragmented shadow bit in there that is literally doing that at that response. That literally has that. And it's like, why? And me recognizing this and doing this kind of work lately, and as of late, like a year or two into this, 3 years, I don't even, you know, it's all blending and melding, and each thing peels back a deeper layer. So I hate to even compare the work that I knew that I was doing, that was viable work for me 2 or 3 years ago, systems work, integration, a light and shadow work, but to compare it to what I feel like the layers that I'm at now is just, it's not, it's apples to oranges, honestly. Both delicious, both wonderful for you to eat and good for the body, and have their own valuable minerals and nutrition and place in the spectrum of wonderful food created by Mother Nature here for us, or God, or both, or however you like to look at that, just regular old nature. You know, this organic world. I'm thinking to myself, it's so funny because, and I'm sure other people who have been on a journey for a while on this sort of metaphysical understanding, esoteric information, always kind of seeing this underneath, this deeper behind the veil, looking for that, the opposing pieces and the commonalities between them, and knowing symbology, and seeing many different sort of cultural perspectives, many different real world perspectives and metaphysical perspectives, exoteric and esoteric understandings of everything. It kind of gets a bit convoluted, and it starts to be like a chasing of the tail around almost everything, until you remember, oh yeah, I have to focus on the center point, which is my connection to God, which is my embodiment of life. And it's my flame, it's my heart, it's my energy, your chi, whatever you know, your vibe, your resonance, whatever you like to look at that as, your polarity, you know, that impression and expression that is that constant happening in interaction with the world around you and with the world you create. That's what really matters. That's where all of the real stuff happens. That's where the action's at, right? That's where we discover our truths. That's where we move through all these things. And again, that's like, you know, where the joy is at, where the fun is at, where excitement and adventure happens, you know? And I think when we fully step into that and remember that we want to live in the present moment. We want to let go of all of that past crap. We realize actually it really doesn't matter, you know? And what does matter is being happy in the moment and being an expression of that happiness and love. I've said this in a couple of other kind of personal videos that I've had lately, and even other places, perhaps podcasts and stuff, about A Course in Miracles. And the work on forgiveness, and even just reading the New Testament and hearing, you know, the core teachings of Jesus, the core teachings of Christianity, you know, even the core teachings, the core one law, all is one, that we are all one. And that was the original law given to Moses, I believe, right? Take it all the way back. Yeah, they've created their 10 times 10 deviations and all their lawyer loopholes to get them away, but still close to that one law. You know, it's, to me, it's nice to see that whatever, it doesn't even matter. They can do what they want to do. You know, it doesn't affect the oneness that I have, the oneness that I know is true, and that I know that is a reciprocal partnership, you know, and that I feed, encourage, and feel grateful for by being happy, by fulfilling my direct life, by giving each day and moment to God, to that happiness, to integrating my purpose in that kind of way, in a full way that, and that's enough, you know. And I'm back to forgiveness. That really calls, you know, and understanding that I have to let go of everything is to forgive, isn't it? Is it, you know? And that's, you know, sometimes, well, forgiveness can be many different things for people. I understand that for sure. But to me, and now, that's, to sum it up quickly, I feel like if you really believe all things happen for a purpose, there's a lesson in everything, that there has this deep bond and agreement between humanity and our Creator, that these things so necessary to learn have been put into motion, and that therefore we are here to learn for betterment, to become better, to become more closer to God, and that each one of us has a role in a divine part in that orchestration. If there is duality, and there must be, then there has to be good and bad. There has to be those who play a bad role and a good role, and in fact we all play these roles in different ways at different times in our lives. And so, you know, how can you not, what is there to really forgive? How can we hate on that? How can we really hold grudges and be mad for so long? And, you know, unless we're not choosing to learn the lesson, unless we're not choosing to see it and process it as a, you know, and whether that's because you don't have the time and the moment or the capacity, or whether it's a habitual thing, or whether it's an addiction, and you need to have those rumination points, you know, to ask yourself these kind of questions, and to not put off and stall and let those things stagnate. Instead, go at them with compassion and empathy and sympathy. Why are you rooted? What's the issue? What do you need? What hasn't been heard yet? What fault is still there, or something, you know, that we can address and find a compassionate, positive compromise to. You know, I think these are the things that bring happiness, and it's not always pretty, it's not always sparkly, it's not always the way you expect it to want to be. And yet the way that those other times, when it shows in a different way, when all is said and done, it ends up to being happier and more beautiful than you had imagined in the other ways that you wanted the chess pieces to move, that you saw this sort of one pathway to a win. And then, you know, you think it's a lose, you think you're being beaten, and then all of a sudden you come around to the other way, and it's a better win there, where, like, everyone wins. And it's, not that of your capacity of this sort of higher sight to have even seen the board in that way, to have even been brought around in that way, and yet you were. And I know because this has happened to me in my life, and really changed my mind, a couple of years ago. And even still then, like I've said, this has been a change and unfolding and more, and even recently in these last couple of days, I've sort of had this another real peel back, and I turn the page. Got it. Finally, I think I can. I think I can move forward, and that I have the capacity and full strength to find kindness, to be able to seek that peace within myself that is that ultimate place in happiness, that is a buoy of hope, always to give myself a hug around, and to know that I can find shelter within, I can find peace within, even in confrontation, aggravation, frustration, and all these things that I have been kind of anchored to chains, kind of like this chain and ball for me lately, ball and chain for me lately, over the last year or two, to being like, I know I'm doing all this good work. I know my internal energetics are shifting, and my understandings and information and wisdom pieces are being put together. And but the ripple effect of the systematic happenings of my direct world, being able to put those gears into motion and hold that resonance long enough that it makes an impact out there in the third party space, and ever gets to come back to me again through its own due course of time, is years, it's months. It's not anything that's like, okay, 30 days and done, or get what I want in a week or something. It's like sometimes certain things do happen like that. Certain things are kind of like that, and everybody's experiences are different. But for me in this specific, what I'm speaking about now, about hope and happiness and in hard times, this one has been a long, long, long road. And I will say, tried and tested. It has been a really, there's been bumps, there's been, a lot of things, kind of toss-ups thrown in the mix, and I think in that kind of hindsight is 2020 mode, to really being able to see the way that I was sheltered, protected, guided, and into in a most caring, ways. To bring that into my present moment and into every day, and to not let it go, and not to just say, oh, it was just that scenario that it sort of God took me through, or that I was connected through, or that I was highlighted through, but that it's every moment, every day, that guidance is there for me, this kind of actions, this protection, and these things do take place, but that I am giving full homage and honoring the true energetic work and promise that is that protection, that is God's love, that is honoring yourself, and service to all, service to the great whole, to the great other, to knowing and honoring that as this really centered anchor point, commitment. It really pays off. And it's a partnership as well, a deepening. And that's why also I love that the armor of God, and seeing these different pieces, and understanding, like I mentioned earlier in the video, about all the different symbology behind it, the energetics, the exo and esoteric meanings, and the literal and the metaphysical translations, and putting them all on the table like big giant puzzle pieces on a scatter point plot. You know, instead of trying to say some belong in this category and others over here in this time period and that, and trying to give it any organization, instead just let them all lay flat. Give them all the same viewpoint on this even table, and let your inner guidance then show you the full side of it, you know, or the Holy Spirit or your higher self, whatever, you know, higher viewpoint that you feel connected into taking up and out. And it's truly amazing to me, the fullness, the beauty of the picture. But again, it takes this feeling, the sense of rising up and out. It takes the wanting to see the forest through the trees, and not wanting to just cry on the ground, I'm lost, come save me, somebody give me a map, you know, somebody just get me out of here. It takes a lot different of an energy, a lot different of a working. And it doesn't say that we don't get into, you know, those points, because it's I feel like sometimes it's like a haunted house walkthrough. It's an absolute nightmare. There's a lot of real issues. There's a lot of evilness. There's some things that feel like true threats, that feel like real issues, that feel real, so real, you know, and that feel like they require a response. And then when you put yourself into that mode, you walk in a first-person point of view through all these happenings, and you sit there and you're attacked by this one, and that one does this, and you still have to keep going, and this obstacle happens, you climb over that, this scares you, that bumps into you, this thing knocks you over. This is like all of these things, you know, happen and happen and happen. To still then have the courage, to still then find the effort, the energy, a capacity of total hope to rise above, to remember that up there, out there is the bigger picture, is the fullness, and that all this has a great purpose. All of this has a goal, and is seen. It is, and it's not even about, oh, the forest ends at this point and the destination is here and it's a beautiful lake for you to go and sit at and take refuge in, or spas, or whatever your mansion at the end of it is, or your reward, or your holy grail, whatever, you know. Carrot on the stick. Let's not even carrot on the stick it. Let's say that there is a point in the entire journey of the moment in the now, in what you're going through. And so bring with us that light feeling, that higher view when we are in the first person view. And that entanglement is so different, and it creates such a, to me, and this is what I'm saying, I'm just finally even getting it, because although I know it's there, I know it's there for everyone, it's like I was only lighting it up, knowing it, and connecting to it in meditation. I was only going to it at prayer time in some kind of need. I was only recognizing it early in the morning, late at night, here and there. You know, I was, but in those times it would be lit up, you know, and, but now, to me, I just feel like I got the switch. I finally found in all the places, because the light would go out, and like, it would be not my peace of calm time. It would be not my best moment. It would be, you know, sometime when it's difficult, or you're not in that state. The incense are gone out. It's not that point of practice. You're in the regular world. You're shopping. You're interacting in your job or with family and bumping into people and pastimes and things and on the scrolling on a screen, you know, the light would get out. The light would be shut off. I'd be asleep. You know, you're back on a habitual mode. All of a sudden, you've lost that connectivity. Oh yeah, I was practicing being awake. I was being conscious. I was the connectivity, the on switch, the beautiful light and love, and the deep chord. Like people see it in all different ways. And I'm not going to get into that now, but I personally like to call it a velvet rope. Sometimes I see it as an intermingling golden, silver threading, astral cord, you know, whatever. It was like, you know, I found the light switch and realized it's on, you know, and that it was, this is, okay, the circuitry is like the thing I was doing. Never realizing or remembering that God's light switch, the connectivity to my all creator, to my conscious experience, to my happiness, to my peace of mind and my purpose, and really casting out my own light and being fully embodied in my function here and my role, my, you know, in service. It's always on. I don't actually have the capacity to turn it off, but I was in there with the circuitry, had made my own kind of poorly created switch and had put it on the wall and turn, you know, my shadow goes over there and turns it off, or it habitually turns off, you know. But it in itself, I'm saying this so poorly, it came to me in such a more clear way. It's so funny how these kind of things, it's difficult to explain epiphanies, right? It's one thing I really like about when I read in A Course in Miracles. They call it revelations from God, and that it's an immediate connectivity through Holy Spirit, and that they are unexplainable. And they're just like, yeah, those points are unexplainable. You're not meant to share them out. It's miracles are shared with others. Miracles in themselves are instant, simple commands of positive correctness, and those are what are meant to happen here in this state, in this world, in the manifestation that happens here. But things that are of God, are of heaven, are of that otherness, they're not translatable into this place and space. They're you know, so much grander that they can't even be smushed into the small space and to be spoken, and they can't be jammed into a word. But knowing that I don't need to turn it on or off. In fact, it's always on, and it's always a deep connection. You know, it was like, yeah, the light's on. It's been me the whole time shutting it off, and it's not necessary. You know, so yeah, this is funny because it's unfolding to me. It's been unfolding to me for many years now. I used to first and foremost call it a live synchronicity walk, and that's from many, many years ago. And I even bumped into synchronicity walks after kind of sort of bumping into The Secret, that movie, in the early 2000s, and being kind of law of attraction and manifestation, and being kind of like into that kind of new agey stuff of wanting the universe to work for me, you know. Very negatively oriented, very much self-driven, self-serving. I don't have a shame or a blame in it, you know, totally admit to that. And that's low-hanging fruit, and it seems really shiny and what people in survival setting need. And somebody like myself who's very wrapped up into poverty consciousness and in that kind of way, victimhood and stuff back then, you know, it just seemed like the answer to all my prayers. It seemed like magic. It seemed like an easy solution. And it's like, well, though I should have known. It's like those things are not easy. Yeah, they're simple and they pay off, but they're hard to do. And they're good work. It's not easy work, you know. But yeah, so this synchronicity walk and the idea of that, you know, had developed more deeply years later now, into a couple of years ago, when I had been have been in a spiritual awakening that I would say since maybe 2014, 15. You know, I came through after 2020, after some really deep lessons through that kind of stuff, came into the sort of systems information about light and shadow work, positive and negative energetic systems, and processing of energy. And that really brought me into being conscious and doing the conscious work between the triad, mind, body, and spirit, allowing each one to formulate their own systems of productivity with bosses and managers in there, and to report back to me, and to learn the dualistic light and shadow balancing for each of the 3 layers, and to learn so much from that. You know, that brought me into being wanting to be more conscious of each of all 3 of them at the same time, and learning what that kind of balancing integration brought me through the tower, and then learning that, you know, each energy center of chakra center is its own center of system balancing, breaking those into 3s, and learning what the quality of energetic work can happen within all the centers. And looking at what those look like, and learning and discovering in there, and keeping that as a continual work, and then trying to enliven them all the time, and bring into all of that the fullness of who I am. And then sort of to have this great understanding that, again, the folding into it all, to remembering, to seeing the great display of how everything grows out into so much complexity, so much manyness, so many beautiful fractal representations, faces sort of on the shape, you know, and then to see how the vertices and all the edges can close down back into this such a simplistic oneness, you know, and that I'm such an integral part of that, and that I get my own expression of that whole thing. And then I also get to be an expression of that whole thing within the whole, within service to the great other, to all others around me. I don't have to do anything to do that service for others, with others. You know, just by living and loving my life, finding hope and happiness for myself each day, living and remembering the light is on, and just being happy about that, being happy to be granted the beautiful light that I have in order to live my life within. That's the spectrum and scope that all I need to take care of, all I need to do. And that in itself takes care of everything else, you know? And having that buoy of hope, having that great promise, having that continual connectivity as my truth, as the one truth, and knowing that as I hold that truth, it contains everyone. You know, it contains all of the happenings, everything from here and now. It contains, whether they like it, know it, or not. It still does. You know, and that it's continual from before and after, and different from here and now, and that it's bestowed and granted, and that it's connected to that great Father, to the Creator, and to the infinite holy triad, you know, of what that means to be a creator source of connectivity. And whatever that looks like, it's the general template is enough. And it's just like it's enough to just hold that and to just know that it's true. That's enough. Just like it's great and it's good and great enough to hold, I am protected, I am honored. Nothing comes into my world that does not serve my highest good. Nothing can come through me or out of me that doesn't serve the highest good of all. And that great prayer and that great promise, you know, it solidifies everything. And, you know, it's the answer to every question. And it's also that freeing thing. Back to tie it into before I close out. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this whole video, if you have, for almost 40 minutes now. Just to recircle and to sort of bring it into, you know, I've like lost my way in turning around. I dizzy myself and lost my my train of thought. It can seem like, you know, we lose our way. We lose the happiness. We lose that handshake, that great hope, the buoy, you know. But I challenge myself, and I challenge all others, to confront that moment of it's lost, I've lost it, where'd it go? It's tipped over, everything's falled over, it's spilt. That very point of recognition, or that kind of dreamlike waking up of almost, I've been on autopilot, I've been habitual, how did I get here? Oh, I'm doing this thing again. Or, oh, here's this response again, or I'm in this mode again, or this is this feeling again. Whatever and whenever it is. To really confront that with the best honesty and acceptance that you can. Okay, yeah, here I am again at this. This is my crumb. This is follow it back. This is my chance. So this is catch the smoke, catch the scent, go after it. Because if you blindside it, if you push it aside and say, oh, later, oh yeah, here it is again, let me get at that later, I don't have time for it because this just happened. Or I can't get at it because I'm in the middle of this. Or I'm too overwhelmed, I just can't right now. That is your answer. That is the point. To speaking and saying, wait a minute, yes, I can. Wait a minute, I do have the time. This is the thing that just triggered that. That's the thing that called forth this thing. Answer it in the best way that you can. Confront it with the best honesty that you can. In that moment, try to get to that compromise solution. Try to have a conversation with the person and say, hey, this is causing me a lot of issues. This has brought me into a really, angry response, a really worried response, or whatever the case is, and try to find that hope buoy, find the bigger picture, rise up out of it, and know that this is a good chance for me to do the work. This is a good chance for me to remember, oh yeah, I am on purpose with a purpose. Oh yeah, this has a silver lining. This is a lesson. This is spiritual work right now. This is going to make me and whoever else is involved, whatever else is involved, brighter and better and more connected to God right now, because there's an interference here. God is watching right now. There is an audience to this. There's a meaning to this point of heightened energy right now. There's an accumulation for a purpose. There, whether it's hoarding, whether it's whatever has to be taken care of at that time, do it. And if it's rest, if it's a reprieve, if it's deep breathing, if it's a nap, if it's a cry, if it's screaming, not screaming at a person, but like going out or screaming into a pillow, or if you have a great backyard where nobody's around, or a place on a walk where you can go, there, look it up. There's a lot of therapeutic things in that. Humming, chanting. There's so many self-soothing methods that we can really anchor into and use that are more gratifying than in resorting to a heightened angered response, a scream fest, an argument, let me make you feel how I feel right now, or let me hurt you because you hurt me right now. Let me respond in an equal volume, or berated because you berated me, or if they're worried about something and you get on worried with them, or and amplify their worry. There's so many. How about trying to, and this is the most difficult thing in the world, but this is me. This is what I'm trying to do in my life, and this is what I'm saying, to myself all the time. How about we try to express love right now? How about we try to say, I can do this. I can forgive. I can see the root of the issue. I can put myself in this other person's shoes as to what has pushed them to have this crazy response right now. What has pushed them to be overbearing or aggravating, or what are they truly trying to express, or where are they really coming from at this moment? Let me try to see it for a minute from their point of view, and not be all about myself, not be all about this instant reaction that I feel like I have to get out. Because a lot of times the instant reactions that we feel like we have to get out is that ego, it's that shadow, it's that test and challenge, honestly. You know, it's the provoking to see if you will react, if you have learned, if you haven't or not. And I'm not here to say that every time I can all of a sudden, wing, and I'm not. Plenty of times it's after the fact that it's like, there's that again, did that again. But I will say that it's less and it's more in the moment, and there is this sort of buffer zone kind of happenings that it is working. I can feel it is working, you know. And I have an 11-year-old and a 19-year-old. I homeschool. I live and work at the same place, at like a motel campground kind of area, where I deal with lots of different people who come in to stay here during hard times, or it's like, you know, not like a real kind of like vacation hotspot. It's more of like an in-between place for people who need to like find a new apartment. Maybe some people do come for different jobs and they're new to a place or down here, but some people come being kicked out of places, have nowhere to go. We get people who live on the streets, homeless people who have just enough money to come and stay, or somebody's paid their time here. We get people who've come out of hospitals, people who've come off of treatment centers. We get all types of, you know, chronically homeless different people. We have mobile people who just don't want to deal with society anymore and who've come to places like this to kind of live as close to off-grid and checked out as possible, you know. So it's like that in itself, I find myself under a category of numerous reasons that we're here, in my own, if I'm honest and true with myself, you know. And so I have a lot of good work. I have a lot of tangible work in my direct world to grind my gears on, to do 3D work with. And so I know from all day, every day, that it's very hard. But also I'm here to have the hope and happiness, silver lining, to say it hasn't gone. It's not, it's always there. I haven't found a time yet that it's not been there. That I haven't been thinking the buoy's not like, I'm gonna drown, and then all of a sudden I hit the buoy and it's there and it catches me. You know, it's truly in itself is amazing. It's a miracle. You know, but more and more, I've also learned that why am I doing this paddling for fearsome? I'm just reminded of this great, if you've never seen it. I think it's on Telegram. I'll try to look through my shared stuff on Telegram because I might have seen it there. Could find it probably on YouTube. If you just search around on the internet, it'll probably come up. But it's like this, of course, animal detrimental, you know, science experiment that is harmed animals, of course. It's not like no animals were harmed during this, and they were, for sure. But the knowledge and the lesson that come out of this is in itself sticks with you. You know, about the mouses paddling around in a pool, and they couldn't, like, they would watch till they would drown, like how long it would take until they drowned. And I forget the exact amount of time, and I won't quote this, but I'll try to find the video and link it on Telegram. Or if I find it, if I do really find it, I'll link it over on YouTube in the comment somewhere too. But it was like they all sort of, there was this medial time that was a very short amount of time, maybe like a few minutes, that all mouses seem to kind of last, in general, and then they let one go and go almost to the point that was this medial time period. But they rescued it. They picked it up and took it out of the water and dried it off. I think they said they gave him food or something, or give him some water, and then put him back in that pool. And those things swam for like an hour or something, like hours, I forget, like, but it was something like exponentially different. And so every time when I feel myself doing that kind of thing, worrisome things, spiral thoughts, thinking I can't do it, thinking I've had enough, thinking I'm at that breaking point, I'm at that final straw on my back, I think of the mouse, and I think of being rescued, and I remember the buoy, and I rescue myself, sort of, but I know that it's not rescuing of myself, because it's something so much grander than the capacity, so much bigger than grace and beauty that I know that I have, that I am capable of in my meager, states. It's something so that I have self-proven worst case scenarios to myself, that I have had some, I've been capable of some very poor decisions, some very dark evilness, some very abusive, incorrect responses, tactics, all types of things in my whole lifetime, but so I know to be saved by this kind of grace, to have this kind of light, it's not mine. It's not something I've made it's something so much greater. And I am a beautiful display of it. I don't think I'm something that taints it or ruins it or something. Like I'm a partner in it, a co-creative fractal representation of it. And I get my own prismatic display of it, that when I embody and remember that, is even more beautiful. It outshine any shadow, any evil thing, any hard time or bad decision I ever made. It's dust in the wind. It's a shadow. It's not real. When you display your light, all those things are gone. It's not what you thought it was. It's like when you're a kid in your room trying to fall asleep, and the lights make like a sweater on the chair look like an evil snake monster coming at you, and you have this whole thing thinking something's coming out of the closet coming after you, and you're having your imaginations run away with you completely. And then like your parent opens the door and the light shines on the chair with your sweater, and you're like, oh my God, how did I make that like that? It was never real. That's like, that's what it is. That's what happens. And that light from your dad opening the door is the Father. It is the light. It's truth. It's the before and after. It's the great remembrance of this here and now is a dark time. It is a shadow at night. It is a dream. Is it a nightmare or a dream? What are you choosing to think of and cast out there and make present around you and feel the energy of and get into? Because that we do. We cast out and co-create our realities. And I want mine to be of love and light. And now we're going to come into commercials, and so I'm going to let it go there. That's my sign to let it go, and I've been long enough. Thanks for listening to me in my light work, trying to remember the light and turn on the light for my own self. I hope you'll catch me next time. Bye for now.